to our last speaker by Dr. Yongzhen YU, who is a visiting doctor at Kennedy School of Government at Harvard University. Dr. Yu holds his Ph.D. in economics from Beijing University, which is China's Harvard. He is an associate professor of economics and deputy director of the Macroeconomics Division in the Chinese Central Party School in Beijing. This university is the most important training ground for top government officials and also one of the most important think tankers in China. Since 2008, Dr. Yu has been working as a visiting scholar at Kennedy School of Government at Harvard University. So let's welcome Dr. Yu for his talk.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. It's a great pleasure to be here to give a lecture to many professionals from small and medium enterprises in the United States. I think it's a good time to talking about macroeconomic outlook about China, its challenges and its opportunities. But it is also a challenge for me because actually for this topic I always talk about 2 hours in my school, but they're just 30 minutes. But I try to give you a whole picture about China's macroeconomic, its challenges and opportunities in 30 minutes. The most important part, not all the parts. This picture is from the IMF, International Monetary Fund, about the projection of 2010 to 2011's economic growth rate in different areas in the whole world. We can see China and India and some developing countries at a fairly good position. But for the advanced economy, their situation is not so good. But today I will give you a picture. Actually, China also have a lot of challenges, not as good as you see and read here in the United States. Actually, in the Asia areas, we can see a very vigorous and balanced recovery. Its economic performance is much better than most of the areas in the world. This is some selected economic indicators in Asian areas. We can see China is leading the Asia's economic growth. Actually, because of the financial crisis, actually China's economic growth contributes a lot to the global economic growth. Because of the financial crisis, I'm sorry, this is some information in Chinese, but I can explain something to that. In 2008, because of the financial crisis, Chinese government started up a very ambitious stimulus package, similar to the United States. It's about 4 trillion RMB in different areas. We can see in this 4 trillion, there are 1 trillion invested in the infrastructure sector, mainly focused on some railway, some airport, and some city infrastructure construction. And from actually this 4 trillion stimulus package adjusted after its publication, because many experts and government officials think from this before the financial crisis, China's economic growth relied too much on the investment and relied too much on the export sector. But this time, China wanted to adjust its economic structure. So many experts suggests the central government to adjust this stimulus package to give more emphasis on some social security network, some social security net system, especially in medical system and education system and so on. But actually, in 2008, our government response to the financial crisis is very, very fast. I think it's much faster than the United States. But we take this financial crisis too seriously. Actually, not only the central governments have a very ambitious stimulus package. Actually, in the local governments, a lot of provincial governments have its own stimulus package. This 4 trillion is just a part of the stimulus. So from 2008, many local governments start up many new projects in infrastructure construction by their investment entities belonging to the local governments. So you can see in 2009, actually our monetary stimulus is very huge compared with 2008, which also caused many short-run challenges for China macroeconomics. Because of the financial crisis, many hot money from international community think China's economic position is very good, and they expect the renminbi will revalue its currency in future, and they expected the China economic growth will be much better than other areas. So many hot money inflow into China market. There are some short-term challenges in current China macroeconomic. The first one is our asset bubble, especially in the real estate sector. This chart shows the real estate price fluctuation during the financial crisis. We can see, actually in 2008 in China, before the financial crisis, actually Chinese government is facing a very huge inflationary pressure from a domestic market and an international market. So in 2008, Chinese government realized that the real estate price bubble is a big problem for China. So we have taken many actions and measures to control the real estate sector's bubble. But because of the financial crisis, the government think the real estate sector is a major economic growth point in the whole economic picture in China. It's so important that Chinese government couldn't let this price to be subdued very, very much. So because of the financial crisis, after the financial crisis, Chinese government began to encourage the real estate sector's development. There are many parts about this story. The first is many central governments and the local government stimulus package money was flowed to the real estate sector. Especially, many Chinese biggest state-owned enterprises borrow money from the bank. They can easily borrow money from the bank because our whole financial system mainly banking based, and most of the banks are state-owned banks. Many state-owned enterprises in China, actually their main business are not real estate investment, but they invest a lot to buy for their very high price land in Beijing, Shanghai, and many developed areas in China. So actually, this contributes a lot to the Chinese real estate sector's borrows. This is a comparison of the growth rate of the average loans and the real estate loans. We can see the real estate loans grows very fast, especially in 2009. It's much faster than the average loans growth. In Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou, Shenzhen, these developed areas, the house price to the income ratio is much higher than the average of the whole country. This chart shows the comparison with the period of the rising property price in Japan. Actually, I and one of my friends in Bank of Japan recently did a research on a comparison between the China and Japan's real estate bubble. Actually, in our research results shows that actually Chinese real estate bubble is not so heavy, just like the Japan's 1980s to 1990s. It's just like the period at Japan's 1970s or 1960s. If we consider about the urbanization between Japan and China, we can see actually this kind of a real estate bubble in China is very different from the 1980s and the 1990s of Japan. Because our urbanization is still in the process. Now our urbanization rate is just 45%. Every year we will reach 1%. So there are a lot of people from rural areas will enter the cities and they want to buy the house. But most of them are low-income people. But still, there are a lot of real demand about the real estate and housing property in China. That's some different. And that's also reduce the pressure of real estate bubble of China. But in some developed areas, especially in Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou, Shenzhen, these areas, the bubble is much heavier than other areas. The second challenge is from the inflationary pressure. Compared with the advanced economy, the current interest rate in China is higher, but compared with but historically it's very low. So in China, there are two reasons contribute to the inflation rates pressure. One is a lot of liquidity flow from the banks to the whole society. The second is many hot money flow into China to make money from two ways. One is the exchange rate revaluation. The second is to invest in some to expect to make money from our high-speed economic growth rate. The third, I think in the short run, the third challenge from how to deal with the 2.4 trillion foreign reserve. Actually, this is a very big problem for China in recent years. After the financial crisis, this is still a very huge problem. Chinese governments have been thinking about how to prevent the hot money from flowing into China market to push upward the asset bubble. But we don't have a very good method to solve this problem. Actually, you know, in China there is one thing. It is called we have a policy, but you have the strategy. So many enterprises and some foreign investors, they are very smart and they are very familiar with the financial market. They have many ways to actually let money go into the China market. So for the short run, for China, it's very difficult to solve this problem. Actually, it contributes a lot to China's dilemma of monetary policy. If we wanted to control the inflationary pressure, we need to raise our interest rate. We need to control our real estate asset bubble. We need also to raise our interest rate. But if we raise up our interest rate, it means for many hot money outside of China, they will have a much higher interest rate income from let their money into the China market. Another thing is because of the huge foreign reserve, Chinese exchange rate region is still a fixed exchange rate region. We call it the manageable exchange rate region, but actually Chinese government control a lot. You know, because of the fixed exchange rate, Chinese governments have to let the central bank to buy the dollar from the commercial banks. The commercial banks buy dollar from some enterprises. So in the central government, especially in central bank, we accumulate a very huge foreign reserve. But we need to exchange this foreign reserve for renminbi. Then this huge foreign reserve account for a huge liquidity surplus in the whole society. So for our monetary policy, we are at a dilemma. This is for the short-run challenge. This table from the World Bank is about some recent economic indicators in China. You can find actually our domestic demand in 2009 is increased a lot. Our inflation rate is higher than other areas in the world. But from this table, you cannot see one thing. That is the fiscal position in China, the real situation. Actually, since 1994, Chinese government conducted a fiscal system reform, which led to the central government account for a huge fiscal revenues. But the local government has less and less fiscal revenues can keep in local government. So in current situation, actually Chinese central government's fiscal position is pretty good. But for some local governments, especially in some very low level local government, some counties and some villages, their fiscal position is pretty, I think, is pretty bad. From 2000, actually, from 2004 to 2006, in our department, we have did an investigation in some middle and west areas of China. In these areas, their economic growth is not good, but their fiscal position is also very bad. In some counties, many government debt are very huge. Some government, if we think it as enterprises, they will go bankruptcy. But there is a change from 2000. Actually, this change happened from 2003 to 2008 because of the financial, because of the real estate sector's price rise very sharply. And you may know, actually, in China, the local government has a second fiscal revenue. It is called the land sale revenue. Because of the real estate price rise higher, so the local government gets many revenue from land sale. But in 2008, because of the fiscal stimulus package, especially some local governments, they borrow a lot of money from the banking sector. Actually, their position begin to get worse. This chart shows the change because of the financial crisis. This change shows that our China's domestic demand begin to start up. The investment growth in 2009 is very high, but in 2010 it's increased a lot. Even though our fiscal position in central government is quite good, in local government is relatively bad. But the whole picture of the budget deficit remains modest if we compare with some advanced economies. We know in the United States, the government debt ratio is much higher than China. And just now I talked a lot about the short-run challenges, but for long run, there are many other challenges, but I think they are more important. The first one is how to really start up domestic demand. This involves with how to raise China's social security net system. That means the Chinese government needs to invest a lot in the medical system and the education system. We need to reduce the income inequality in different areas and in different social groups. That means actually in China, some people think we have a three-world. Actually, this three-world conception is put forward by Chairman Mao Zedong in 1950s. In China, the east coast areas is called the developed areas. But the western areas, especially some western north areas, their economic growth are very slow. So in current China, if you live in Beijing, if you go out of Beijing about 50 kilometers, you will see there is a very big difference about the living standard in local households. So how to solve this problem is very important. It's actually very important for startups and domestic demand. The third is involves with the rural areas development. The second challenge is long-term challenge is how to achieve the economic structure adjustment from made in China to the innovation in China. Because of the financial crisis, our export sector cannot develop so fast than ever. So for Chinese government, it is a good time, and also we feel a lot of pressure to force Chinese enterprises from the low technology to transfer to a high technology enterprises in future. So it's very important. The third is how to realize the sustainable development in China, which involves with how China to deal with its huge energy and natural resource demand, how to deal with climate change, and those issues. Then I will talk something about the opportunities. I think the opportunities lies in the challenges. In China, the crisis, the word of the crisis means too many. The first is there's some bad things happen. But the second thing is that there are also some opportunities. In China, crisis means dangerous plus opportunity. So I give you one case about this, especially for the sustainable development. I think many small and medium-sized enterprises outside of China have many opportunities in this field. You know, in China, made in China, actually, we, at the cost of a very low labor cost and a very higher the environmental pollution cost. But now we are facing a lot of pressure from domestic China. Many local people don't want those companies which have a very huge pollution to the local areas to develop their business in China. We also face with the climate change pressure. This pressure is from domestic, but mainly from international society. Chinese government have taken many measures to do energy conservation and emission reduction policy in this field. But China, you know, is still in the process of industrialization and urbanization. It means we still need to build up a lot of infrastructure. We still need to consume a lot of energy and natural resource. How to deal with this problem? For example, the energy field. I think China actually can do two kind of things. One is to reduce the energy demand, which means the demand side management. The second is from the supply side to put more emphasis on the renewables and some clean tech and clean energy to displace the fossil fuels. So in this field, actually there are a lot of investment opportunity in China. Because of the time, I have to stop here. But I just wanted to give some more opinions about some opportunities. Actually, China, in recent days, we can read a lot about Chinese government have some change their attitude to their foreign direct investment. Some foreign companies think China will not welcome their investment in China in the future. But from my opinion, actually from today's picture I give you, you can see actually China wanted to adjust its economic structure. We don't want to encourage a lot of companies to invest in China like before, especially if they have a lot of pollution and they will put a lot of pressure on the climate change issues in China. We will not encourage such kind of a company. But from other side, actually Chinese government need a lot of companies who have much higher technology, who have very good technology to control their pollution and about their pollution. Actually, Chinese government encourage a lot of companies who have good technology to do the clean energy field. Actually, Chinese government wants to let many foreign companies to help China to adjust its economic structure. Thank you very much. I stop here.